Good morning. I want to share a story with you this morning that is proof positive that the American dream is alive and well, proof positive that this is the greatest country in the world, proof positive that in 2024, we are still living in the greatest time in history to be alive. We are awash in wealth. We are awash in abundance, and we are awash in opportunity like never, ever, ever before in our lives. The only greater year than 2023 is 2024. So for the last 2 years, my daughter Emery has had an art teacher. She goes to see this guy, JP's his first name, and we go over to the Naples library once a week. And we hired this guy 2 years ago, and he works with Emery in one of the cubicles, one of the compartments at the library, and he teaches her art lessons. She has a passion for art. She's an incredible, she loves to sketch, she loves to draw, she loves to create, very much like her grandmother, my mom. And one of the things is we've been going for 2 years, but I'm always asking questions of other entrepreneurs and small business owners. I'm very interested. I'm not scrolling on my phone or I'm just constantly speaking to other entrepreneurs because these are the heroes in today's society, right? The millions and millions and millions of small business owners in North America. You're the straw that stirs the drink. If you're not out here risk-taking and building and paying taxes and hiring people and sponsoring this and all that, then all this goes away. So whenever I run into especially a one-person show like this art teacher, a one-man band, so to speak, I'm fascinated. So I said to JP the other day, I said, okay, so I pay you $75 cash every week. $75 cash. That's what he accepts as cash. And my daughter goes every single week for 1 hour. I said, JP, how many students do you have in a week? And, most entrepreneurs love to talk business. So he goes, Michael, I average 7 to 8 students per day. 7 to 8 students per day, which makes sense. He says, I come in here at 8 o'clock in the morning into the library. He doesn't have to pay rent. He doesn't have to own an office. He doesn't have any employees. He doesn't have any overhead to speak of. And he says, I'm here from anywhere from 8 in the morning till around 5. So I see 7 to 8 people every single day. And I said, well, what do you work? Do you work 5 days a week? He goes, 7 days a week. He said, the library is closed on Sundays, so I use the coffee shop up the street. So once again, a free office space. And I said, you work 7 days a week? And he said, absolutely. He says, this is my craft. This is my art. And I said, really? And he says, listen, I'm married. I got 3 adult children. I live here in Naples now full time. He said, I do not golf. I'm not a sports guy. So he said, this is what I love to do. I love to teach my students. I love to coach them. It's my passion. I don't have to answer to anybody. It's my own job. And this is what I choose to do. And I'm like, 7 days a week. And he's like, 7 days a week. He said, I usually take 2 weeks off in the summer and head up to in the north. I go, up to into the whatever, New York, or he's been to Canada a few times. And I'm like, so you work 52 or 50 weeks a year? And he said, absolutely. So I'm sitting there and I'm starting to do the math because, in today's world, especially with our young people being fed that, to be anti-American, anti-Canada, anti-self-reliance, anti-autonomy, anti-self-responsibility, and especially anti-work. It's really tough to make it out there. And you run into this one-man band. The guy, he said to me, he wasn't bragging. He says, I'm a millionaire, Michael. He goes, I'm a millionaire. He goes, I have become, he says, I'm not rich. He says, I've done well. But he says, I've done living on my own terms. And he knows who I am because I said, he goes, I see that you're an email guy. And I said, oh, I said, you're familiar with what I do? And he said, well, he says, when a guy walks in the library 4 weeks in a row with a badass t-shirt on, usually you Google him. So he said, I see that you're an email guy. And I said, I'm a mail guy, I'm an email guy, I'm a marketing guy for sure. And he said, well, he said, I'll tell you right now. He said, those are my numbers. He said, I charge $75 cash an hour, cash in most cases. Let's say 7 hours a day. He said sometimes he does 7 trainings a day in the library or at the coffee shop. That's $525 a day. Okay, guys and gals, like I don't like to do math publicly, but even I can figure that one out. So this art teacher, this one-man band, is making $525 minimum cash a day, with no overhead, with probably hardly any taxes, no matter, I don't know what he claims or doesn't claim. And he's got no overhead, he's got no boss, he's got nothing else, no expenses. So if he's making $525 a day and he's got a killer work ethic like he does 7 days a week, those are $3,600 weeks. He's making $3,675 a week minimum. He's making close to $4,000 cash per week. And you tell me that this isn't the greatest country in the world. You tell me that this isn't the land of opportunity. You tell me that a person can't live life and do business on their own terms in 2024. The other thing too is, continuing for me to do some public math here, that he's clocking in at $183K a year. He's clocking in, if he works 50 weeks like he said he does, 183, almost $184,000 per year. And, it's cash. Most of it's cash. Everything we've done, he's asked for cash. And when I pay him, he pulls out a roll like this, right? It's like I'm dealing with Mike Carroll's bookie or something. It's just, he's got a roll like this. I hand him a $100 bill. I said, JP, have you got change? And he's like, of course I got change. So it's like I'm dealing with the mob or something. But great guy, great teacher, very humble guy. And I just kept questioning him. I'm like, wow, how much of this do you? I knew that he would be doing okay, but I didn't think that he would be, doing these kind of numbers. He's got a strong work ethic. $184,000 a year teaching arts to kids, arts. And these kids get scholarships. I didn't know this, right? He goes, Michael, I have a whole bunch of kids that have partial scholarships. And I'm like, really? He says, yeah. He goes 50% scholarships, 25% scholarships. And he said, those are my best students. But he says, I didn't know anything about that. Like, I know football, I know baseball, I know hockey, I know those types of scholarships, academic scholarships. But he's like, no. He's like, scholarships. Hello, sweetheart.
Hi.
So what I just couldn't believe, he also said to me, I said, what marketing expenses do you have? And he said, well, I don't have any. And he said, I used to spend, he goes, it's all referral. And I said, you have the same number of kids like year after year. He says, Michael, they're almost all lifetime. Even when they go away to college or university, he says, I got their brothers, I got their sisters, whatever. He said, I used to try and do a little bit of social media stuff. So he did a bit of stuff on Book of Faces. He did a bit of stuff on Instagram. But he said to me, he goes, you know what? He goes, I'm like you, I just do it by email. And he said, I'm dealing with most of the parents when they start out, they're age 5, 6, and 7. So these kids, he's dealing with mom and dad. So he said, what I've done is I've built an email list over the last 30 years he's been doing this. And I said, how big is your email list? And he said, it's around 400 people. So parents and students. So here's a guy that's gradually built a list. He probably started with 25 people, then he got it to 50, then he got it to 100, then he got it to 200. And over the last 30 years, he just keeps adding these people. Some of them are immediate students, some of them are not. But he's got a list of 400 mums and dads and students. Free email. And if he is ever, it's funny because I'm on his list, right? So this is what really got me to the point where I was curious. I wanted to question this guy. I get the odd email, especially when we return after Christmas each year. So, if he ever gets thin, if he ever has a few spots open or kids go on summer vacation or whatever, he told me he just sends out an email. So he doesn't even have to send weekly or any of that stuff. He goes, I send an email at the start of the season, and he says if I ever have any openings. And boom, the guy is like packed with students. I remember when we hired him 2 years ago, he didn't return my message for almost a week. And I knew right at the start that either made him a tomato can or it made him a very well-positioned, very busy consultant. And I'm happy to report it was the latter, where the guy's like, sorry, Michael, I'm teaching all day and I only get a chance to do this stuff late at night. And he said, sure, I have one opening. And he took on our daughter, Emery. It's $75 cash, take it or leave it. We meet at the library every week for 1 hour, done. And I'm just like, wow. So we're always the last slate of the day too. And he just packs up all his stuff. He's got one of those black traveling suitcases with all his art supplies. And he just packs it all up and he just walks out. He's got this really awesome blue Jeep with the hood off and the roof off, and away he goes. And he's amazing at telling jokes and stories. The guy could be a stand-up comedian. But this guy is totally living life on his own terms. His children are raised. He's lived all over America, but he's decided to stay in Naples. He's been here for a number of years, and he's got an email list that goes with him anywhere he wants to go. And I said to him one thing before leaving the other day, because I want to test how smart he was. He says, that email list, he says, it's my parachute. It's my, if I'm ever not busy, I just send out an email. And he said, I said, how was social media for you? And he's like, it was so-so. He says, but the parents, he said, they would miss the messages. And if I sent a text or he said, nothing ever has beaten email. And this is a guy who only uses his list, only uses it when he's thin, when he needs some money. So, there's a 400-person email list that he uses only from time to time to make that kind of money. To make, $184,000. So forget when people say to you, you need this massive list. There's a guy with 400 people on his list, and he's literally booked from morning to night. He's doing what he wants on his own terms, living in a place that he wants to live in. He's got no staff, no employees, no business partners, probably no taxes. He's got very few headaches, and he's got just repeat business year after year, decade after decade. Listen, that's why you need to grab and download a copy of my brand new book. I've made it absolutely seamless for you. The link is below. Hello, sweetheart. cavemanmillions.com. And what's great about the book is you just pay what you want. You can pay $1, you can pay $99, you can pay I don't care, whatever you have. But this is a 200-page tome of my 100 top most profitable, I call them money-drenching email templates. These are templates that you can use in any business, any size of list. You can use them to hire people, to generate more money, more leads, more referrals, more goodwill, build a relationship. You can use them to raise funds for the library, for your T-ball team, you name it. I've got my top 100. I've written over 4,300 emails, and Marc Andres basically curated these top 100. The ones that bring in the most money, the ones that have been the most successful. And it's a downloadable book. I don't have much expense in this other than my time and Marc Andres' time. We haven't had to print this tome. We haven't had to FedEx this brick. It's over 200 pages, and you can instantly download it below at cavemanmillions.com. It's a gentleman's agreement. pay what you want. You can pay $1, you can pay $25, you can pay $75, you can pay up to $100. But I don't have a ton of money in this, so I can do this. If I did have to make this a physical product, which I thought of doing, it's $1,000 product. Just to print it off and to FedEx it to you, it's $1,000 product for me to put this together, for me to make any money. And I'm not a charity, and I'm not a soup kitchen. So this way, it's one of those rare products that I don't have a ton of expense into. And because it's digital, you can get it right away. So I want to get it in your hands. I want to get it in your hands. So cavemanmillions.com, pay whatever you want. And I hope you're the next story, the millionaire art teacher story, or the small business owner who's starting to make 25 grand on the side or 100 grand on the side. And just email is the honey that brings in the money. It's the honey that brings in the money. And another example is that perfect example of Emery's tiny small business art teacher in Naples, and the guy making, $3,000 a day, living life and doing business on making $3,600 a week. And I'm just with a little tiny list of 400 people. That's it. What are the 2 words that changed my life that can change yours, Emery?
Be relentless.
That's it, men and gals. Link is below.